This tutorial is on your Soils and the Environment Assignment 2. So it's part of the Soils and the Environment module. This assignment is based on the learning outcomes, so to analyse farm activity from an environmental viewpoint. So this assignment is only worth 10%. All sections of the assignment must be completed and marks are as follows. So you'll see from the table here the breakdown of the marks. So I suppose you can see where more detail is required in each section. So just looking here, the part 1, current farm details, part 2, farm enterprise details, description of activity to be examined, and analysis of the environmental impact of this activity, description of your proposed actions to improve the environmental sustainability of this activity, and evidence of research for your proposed solutions. Provide references to agricultural publications, websites, etc. used. So you can see here in this column the breakdown of the marks. So there's 6 sections and it's worth 10 marks in total. Just looking at part 1, so it's based on current farm details. So this table shows the type of animal and the livestock unit value per animal. So this slide just demonstrates how to work out or calculate your stocking rate. So your stocking rate basically is the livestock units divided by your forage hectares, which is your grazing ground. So to calculate the livestock units, so you can see here that female or male cattle over 2-year-olds are 1 livestock unit. Female or male cattle 2-year-olds or under are 0.6 of a livestock unit. Female or male sheep are 0.15 of a livestock unit. There's horses, donkeys, goats, and deer. So not many will have goats and deer, if any, but you may have some of the other categories of animals. So basically what you do to work out your livestock units will be the number of livestock you have and multiply it by the livestock unit that it's worth. So just as an example done out here, so 180 ewes multiplied by 0.15 livestock units. And that's because we know that sheep are 0.15 of a livestock unit. And that gives me 27 livestock units in total. So the same for my, dairy cows or suckler cows, they're 1 livestock unit. So if I have 100 dairy cows, I'll be multiplying that by 1 livestock unit to get my total livestock units. When I have the total livestock units, so 27 livestock units is the total from this example, I divide that by 15 hectares. And that 15 hectares is all of my grazing ground added up together. So in the farm details, you will be asked to provide your stocking rate. So in order to get the stocking rate, you'll need to know how many hectares of grazing ground, or what we call forage hectares, available to these animals. And in this instance, when I divide those 2 figures, I get 1.8 ewes per hectare. So that's my stocking rate. If you're dealing with cattle, sheep, it could just be 1.8 livestock units per hectare. Looking on then to part 3 of the assignment. So you have to select and describe an activity on your farm or given farm. So base this on your home farm or nominated farm. And the potential topics that you could discuss on your home farm or nominated farm. So just to bear in mind that this is a soils module, so the topic that you would have to pick would be soils related. So just examples of topics given here. So you could discuss about soil fertility on the farm. So when the latest soil sample results were taken, what they are, if known, the P's, the K's, the pH that came back from the soil report. Methods of improving soil fertility. So the example, soil testing, how often would you soil test? Fertilizers used, so whether it's protected urea, standard urea, liming programs, reseeding, benefits of correcting soil fertility issues, so for example, to increase grass growth. Another topic then, so fertilizer use, organic and chemical fertilizer. application rates and timing. So when are you applying your organic and chemical fertilizer? Your methods of spreading. So your LESS is your low emission slurry spreading. So for example here, your dribble bar. So I suppose talk about the differences between splash plate and your low emission slurry spreading techniques. The current nitrates figure. So I suppose if you're over the 170 kgs of N per hectare, means you're in derogation. What would you have to do if you're in derogation? So any imports or exports of slurry. So you could, any topic relating to soils. So you're describing activity on your farm in relation to soils. And when we move on to the next section, you'll see that basically you have to analyze the environmental impact that it has on the farm, and I suppose how you could improve it. Other topics then, identify at-risk water sources and actions to protect and improve your water quality. So your water sources, so your like the likes of your buffer zones, so keeping the animals back from areas where there's water. The likes of your runoff, so actions to protect water quality, fence off sources from livestock, low emission slurry spreading, prevent fertilizer leaching, buffer zones, and effluent collection and storage. What are the benefits then of improved water quality? You could also talk about on-farm water use and sustainability of water infrastructure. So I suppose, you know, to turn off the water if there is leaks, to repair leaks, harvesting rainwater, methods of water collection, infrastructure, parlour washings. So I suppose that the water cooler water, you know, that you're recycling the water and that it can be used then to wash the yard or wash the parlour afterwards. So they're all just potential topics that you could use on in relation to soils and the environment on the assignment. Looking then at part 4, so you have to analyse the basic environmental impact of this activity. So name the activity previously mentioned, so whatever activity you've decided to discuss. Identify and discuss the environmental aspect that's being impacted. So whether it's air quality, so for example, your low emission slurry spreading, air quality would be impacted if you weren't using this method. Soil quality, water quality, biodiversity, animal welfare, food safety. So any of the topic that you discussed previously, what, or if any, and what ones of these here are impacted by the environmental aspect. So the likes of your low emission slurry spreading, the air quality is affected, soil quality, water quality. If you are not, you know, if you're using the splash plate and you're not adhering to buffer zones, the runoff, it could run off into the waters and that could mess with the water quality. What is the impact of these aspects being negatively affected? So I suppose, how are they negatively affecting the environment? You're looking then at proposed actions. So description and detailed report of your proposed actions to improve the environmental sustainability of this activity on the farm. So I suppose list and discuss each action. So for example, the activity could be fertilizer application, both chemical and organic. What's the environmental impact of this? So reduced air and water quality, while it's also affecting biodiversity. Proposed actions. So you could change to your low emission slurry spreading, your protected urea, which is better for the environment. Timing of applications, buffer zones, storage, and soil analysis. So in relation to your soil analysis, that you're not just spreading the fertilizer for the sake of it, that you actually know your P's and K's, you know the fertility of your soil, so that you're not wasting the fertilizer just for the sake of getting it out on the land. Possibly look into agri-environmental schemes, so the likes of your GLOS, possibly convert to organic farming, and discuss the environmental advantages then of each action. So that's basically the assignment. So I'm just going to go over to the Word document of the assignment and just quickly scroll through it to show you the remainder parts to be completed in it. So as I said, this assignment is only worth 10%. So I suppose you know 10% is very little compared to other assignments that you will do. So that'll indicate how much time and effort you should put into this. So for each section, a paragraph, so when I say paragraph, 4 to 5 lines is sufficient. If you are asked to discuss, just make sure that you're not just listing the points, that you actually are discussing the points, and that you give a decent paragraph for that. But this is not an essay style assignment or anything. It's a short 10% assignment. So we looked at farm details. So just in these boxes here, the land area, so the hectares owned, leased, rented. So this is the total amount of hectares you have on the farm. What type of land it is, so whether it's free draining, fragmented, so it's split all over. What kind of land do you have on the nominated or your home farm? Grazing system, so whether it's paddock grazing, strip grazing, mixed grazing, whatever type of grazing system you're using. Soil type, so whether it's a loam, clay, silty type soil, and the stocking rate. So I showed you in the presentation how to get your stocking rate, or you could just put in your nitrates figure into this box. So some people might know their nitrates figure. It's also on your ag food account. If you log in to your own ag food account, if you have it at home, you'll be able to find the nitrates figure there. But it's just as easy for you to, once you have these figures here, you'll be able to calculate the stocking rate. And I suppose just to bear in mind, this is based on your own farm or nominated farm. So we're not going to fall out if you have the wrong number of cows. I'm not going to be looking at your herd profile or anything like that. So to just, if you don't know between 1 and 2 cows, obviously you don't want to say you've only 50 when you're milking 100 cows. But I suppose just if you're at home trying to find out the figures, don't get too bogged down within the figures. Just give a general estimate of how many animals you do have at home. So if you're dairying, you'll put in the number of cows, the milking system, average milk yield, sucklers, cattle, sheep. So complete the table in relation to the enterprise you have at home. So I went through this part 3 in the presentation. Part 4 then, as I said, was analyse the basic environmental impact of the activity that you mentioned in part 3. So a description, so that will be a slightly longer part, and detailed report of your proposed actions to improve the environmental sustainability of this activity on the farm. Part 6 then is just evidence of research. So this is the easiest part. So provide references to agricultural publications, websites, etc. used. So you might, for example, go on to Teagasc and see what the benefits of using the low emission slurry spreading equipment is. You might reference from my notes, my presentation, websites, the Department of Agriculture, where you may have researched something on GLOS. So any publication, any website you've used, or it could just be as simple as your soils and the environment workbook. So don't get caught out. There is actually 1 mark going for this. It's very simple. All you're doing is listing out whatever publications or websites you used. So don't leave that 1 mark behind. Make sure you do list at least 1 publication or website that you did use. So that's the assignment. It's very short. It won't take long to complete, and it's only worth 10% of the overall soils and the environment module. So if you have any questions, you can email me online at paliskenry.com.